Good morning from Alabama. This is Corky Alexander uh, coming to you today. I guess I should say Dr. Corky Alexander because I was awarded the Doctor of Intercultural Studies degree at Fuller School of Intercultural Studies in Pasadena, California. But I rarely ever mention that because I always believe there shouldn't be such a thing as a Dr. Corky. Um, some might wonder what dictates the interests that I have that can be somewhat eclectic. Uh, most of you that know me know that I was turned a teenager in the summer of love, 1967. Most of you know that I'm a kind of an old hippie. Uh, and when we say that, we're not just talking about fashion or, you know, nonconformity, but we're talking about some important ideas um, of why I'm not the Rush Limbaugh of Alabama, because I have particular convictions that are based on my faith and based on my history, the generation that I was raised in. I'm a baby boomer. So why, I mean, it makes sense why I would be a rock musician, guitarist, um, and then, it makes sense why I would love, you know, making barbecue because I'm a southern guy. That barbecue trail, I'm going to do a video soon about the barbecue trail and just discuss the different styles of barbecue. Um, why did I end up being a Pentecostal minister, a former pastor for 26 years, 40 years total of public ministry? Why did I leave the Baptist church that I was raised in to become a Pentecostal? All those things. Why do I like trains? A lot of this connects with ideas that came forth in the late 60s. And I don't think that they are irrelevant today. I think that these ideas are valid. Why did I spend 8 years doing a music program among intellectually disabled adults? Uh, all of this is part of a worldview of mine that was influenced heavily by a number of things, number of people, number of events. In particular, I will just focus on one of them, and that is Jimi Hendrix's concept of the electric church. Um, most people know that the Woodstock Music and Arts Fair took place in 1969 up in New York State, and they know that Jimi Hendrix performed the Star Spangled Banner there. Um, a less number of people are aware that after Woodstock that there was a mindset, or if you want to say philosophy, that people adopted. Many of the people that moved to Woodstock after the festival, um, held these views. And what connection does it have to scriptural Christianity? And does it make any connections with the church? Because I'm sometimes viewed by people to be kind of a misnomer or a real, one guy told me, in Oklahoma that he just didn't believe in me, because he didn't think there could be a Corky who was a rock musician and a Pentecostal pastor and, run around with American Indians. That I was an enigma, so therefore I did not exist. That's what he said to me at dinner. Well, I do exist. I'm sitting here on this early morning waiting on the pest control man to come. And I thought I'd give you a little talk about Jimi Hendrix's idea of the electric church and what all this means. In particular, and the Wikipedia definition, which I normally don't recommend Wikipedia, you certainly shouldn't use Wikipedia in your undergrad or grad or postgrad research, but it's okay for just, a folksy definition. Wikipedia defines Jimi Hendrix's concept of the electric church in this way. It's an informal cooperative of musicians performing more exploratory music in non-traditional settings. And as I looked at this definition, I thought it was probably true to what Hendrix said. Hendrix is not known to be a philosopher. He's not known to be a saint, although he wore ministerial robes when he played on stage, which is a hoot. But he is known to be a very, very innovative pioneer of the electric guitar. Okay. We know that he is descendant from both African American and Cherokee tribe, and he stayed true to those two worlds, and those two worlds are very important: African American, Native American, for the concept of America. And America, I include South America, Central America. It's all America, okay, regardless of what your politic is. But I believe that this probably touches on all the topics that I give, like my playlist on YouTube. By the way, I want to say thank you to those who made positive comments to my Model Railroad video. I got more comments on the Model Railroad videos than I did all my guitar instructional videos or my ministry videos. But as we talk about the electric church, Jimi believed that after Woodstock, that it was such a stellar event, that music probably should primarily not be played indoors, but it should be played outside. The festivals, and I include in this the Jesus festivals of the 70s, and the other festivals, are a particular phenomena that is different than other music venues. When I was working with intellectually disabled in Tennessee, and I was a supervisor for an agency, I recommended that the staff take the clients to music festivals at every opportunity they could, because people with intellectual disabilities often have a lot of assistive equipment. They often have disruptive behaviors in the sense of normal people. And at a music festival, you can get as far back or as far in as you want. You can even camp out under a tree and listen to all the music and all the talking without, be invisible. So I began to see connections of this idea of informal cooperative of musicians. Now, this goes along with my ideas on social music. What I mean by this, informal cooperative of musicians. Now, if you're in a marching band, that's really cool. If you're playing an orchestra, that's super cool. If you play in a band, that's cool. But in order for music to serve the people, it's got to be explored in ways other than just performance. Even in church, many times the music tends to be on a stage in a performance setting rather than inclusive with the people. Drum circles that take place in large parks in big cities like San Francisco and other places go a long way towards including everybody. And I was and am a trained facilitator for Remo Drum Company in the Health Rhythms program. So I've had drum circles in nursing homes, drum circles in disability centers, all the way to Uruguay, Chicago, South Dakota, Tennessee. And this would be an example of an informal cooperative of musicians. It's not a formal band. They're not brought together to form some type of performance. They're there informally. And this is the sense of social music. And so that Jimi Hendrix, when he played in public, you never knew who would be on stage with him, especially towards the end. They may or may not be permanent members of the band, things like that. So an informal cooperative of musicians. Young musicians tend to struggle with the idea of, I need to find some place to play. They worry and they struggle because they don't have anywhere to play and to get paid for doing so. And that ends up being bars and maybe restaurants, ends up being fraternity parties or high school dances or a lot of different venues. And they feel like they have to support and pay the musicians that travel with them that often are viewed as accompanists to them. This is a sense of a performer. And the idea is that in a real sense, concerts are events that are created to support that performer. That's the focal points where all the spotlights hit, on the stage where the performer is. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something different. I'm talking about more like a jam session or a get-together. Happening is an old term, but it communicates. So the informal cooperative of musicians means that people come together to play music rather than to come together in a formal sense, with manuscript music in front of them, with a conductor, so forth like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people getting together to play in a playful way, play music. So that's a long video right there for just the first point of an informal cooperative of musicians. I will come back and do a part 2, and there probably will be a part 3 on electric church. Okay? Have a blessed day. See you then.